When you think of American cars, what do you think of? This car comes from the heart of Silicon Valley. As a matter of fact, this car is California designed and California built. Now look, it's not like the big three in Detroit couldn't have built this car, but because of the bureaucracy of Detroit, it took a new, fresh way of thinking and a new approach to make something like this.
And by now, unless you aren't paying attention at all, you've heard accolades for the Tesla Model S from just about everyone you can imagine. And I get into it feeling the pressure, like I'm supposed to figure out if this is the Jesus Christ of automobiles. And if it is, does that mean Elon Musk is God the Father? Or just a godfather? This is the top of the line version we're in here, the P85 Plus, which means it'll go the full 260 plus miles on a charge.
Todd and I have long talked about finding an alternative fuel vehicle car that is a real car, something you can put your stuff in. It fits real people and you can take on a road trip. Oh, and by the way, it's got to drive and handle like a real car too.
This car kind of begs comparison to the Fisker Karma, and it also begs comparison based on kind of its shape and its intentions to the Porsche Panamera. And if you look at those three cars, each of them really show you the core of the company. The Fisker Karma was a car built by designers. Everything about it was for the sake of design. The Panamera is a car built by a German performance car company. So while it's not a very attractive car, dynamically it's spectacular to drive. And this was built by people that come from computers and software. And the Tesla Model S rings true with that.
Finally, a car that is entirely electric. It doesn't look electric. If you saw this car and didn't know what it was, would you really think it's an electric car? They got the proportions absolutely right.
There's a little bit of Aston Martin in the front, there's a little bit of Infiniti in the rear. The side view feels quite a bit like the Panamera to me, though it's far more attractive. You kind of get the sense they wanted to keep this car subtle.
If you're not aware by now, this car is a 7-seater. It has 2 extra rear-facing seats. When this owner's family gets out of the car, it looks like a clown car.
There are some really beautiful touches on this car. These door handles that are sucked into the door panels but present themselves when you step close. That makes getting into this car an event.
Even though the styling on the interior is nice, I find it a little bit bland to look at, but maybe that's the point. Everything is about this screen.
The screens are all superb. Everything about this is the place where the Model S shines the most. There is a great ability to track the car here, but if you take your fingers around off of the steering wheel and you start touching other materials in the car, with the exception of the steering wheel and the seats, a lot of the materials really aren't that nice. In fact, they certainly don't feel like a $100,000 car.
It's not even an $80,000 interior. And I have to say, I am aware I'm sitting in an American car solely because of the seats. There is nearly no lateral support. What's strange is because there's so much space around these seats, they look odd. Looks like a couch ottoman. I'm shocked at the amount of space in here, and it's just the packaging. It's just the new layout of the battery and the way the motors are packaged that allow this as much space as it does. This car is one of the best packaged cars I've ever been in.
It almost feels cavernous. It almost feels like there's too much space and I want it to close in around me sometimes. I cannot believe how much room I've got in every single direction. And it's just people as far as the eye can see in this car. It's insane. This may be the best use of space of any automobile made.
So, what do you call this thing now? It's no longer the gas pedal. Is it the accelerator pedal? Is it the go button? Is that this mystical lever that controls technology from the future? It's all of that. I've experienced fast acceleration on a car before, but usually it's accompanied by a roaring engine and snapping upshifts of a transmission. I've never felt acceleration that is so fluid, so seamless, that rush, and it doesn't stop. It's quite frankly phenomenal, and you have to try this out.
The single-speed transmission and the electric motor with constant full torque creates a scenario where you can pass in the tiniest of gaps. There's no waiting for any kind of gear change or to get into the power band. There's nothing of that kind. The minute you put your foot into it, you are passing people at an alarming rate. When you drive the Model S for very long, you are so spoiled to this power delivery. It makes any kind of normal torque curve just kind of feel anemic. The Panamera is actually one of the better comparisons because a fully loaded Panamera has similar power numbers to the Tesla Model S, similar 0 to 60 speeds. The difference though is that 50 to 70 mile an hour range where passing normally happens. That's the place where this car feels like nothing else on the planet.
That's one of the things that will astonish you about the Model S. Just the flat-out acceleration of this car.
The best way I can think of to describe it is to think about a golf cart. You know, when you floor a golf cart from a standstill, even though it only goes 5 miles an hour, it throws you back in the seat because of that instant torque. This has that, but it has it way past 5 miles an hour, way past 60, all the way firmly into triple digits.
This rush of power, I am addicted. Alcoholics have it easy compared to my desire, my need for this acceleration now. I am now so addicted to that, I'm going to use up this battery faster than intended.
And when you get up to really high speeds, the only noise is the air rushing past the car and the faintest sense of the tire roar. When this car is rolling slowly, if you turn off the air conditioner, the only sound sounds like tennis shoes on a basketball court when you turn the wheels.
Now, you need to know about the regenerative braking on the Model S. It is connected to when you lift off the accelerator. It's not connected to the brakes. Therefore, the brakes feel normal.
Because the car is automatically braking when you pull off the accelerator pedal. In fact, the brake lights even come on. You can really drive this car 1 foot, 1 pedal most of the time.
Because it works very well. Just like everything else on this car. Now, in town, when you're just cruising around the city, it's going to feel fairly sharp. But when you finally get out on a curvy road, that's when you're going to really start to understand what this car can do.
The Model S weighs about 4,500 pounds, so it's the weight of your average 7-seat crossover vehicle. But it never feels like it in a straight line acceleration situation. However, it does feel that big in the corners.
Upon coming into a corner, there's an initial sway, just an initial settling in, and it makes you question it for the slightest split second.
It's kind of like if somebody pushed you by surprise. You'd stumble back a little bit and then catch yourself really well. That's kind of how the Model S feels in a corner.
It just needs to settle itself. You can feel the weight shift. It just hunkers down and snaps through the corner.
The best thing about corners in the Model S is the exit, when you can put your foot to the floor and explode out of the corner.
Now, there are cars that do it better. If you really want a car, if you're really shopping in the Tesla category, I'd say you might consider the Panamera.
The Fisker Karma actually handles a little better than the Tesla does, in spite of weighing quite a bit more. And the Panamera is in a whole other league, a whole other class of handling performance above this car. And it mainly comes down to balance. There's a sensation of a little bit of understeer, and the center of gravity of the car feels in front of you. Instead of in the center of the car, it feels somewhere underneath the front of the dash. The initial body roll and the sensation that you're sliding out of the seat keep it from feeling as agile as it could be.
If you're driving a little sports car or we're driving a big sedan like the Panamera, we like it to shrink around us, essentially getting smaller, faster, more nimble as we're pushing through these corners. The Model S does not. It remains a large, heavy car. For all of the other things that it does so well, I can forgive that.
Driving this for a while, I come to the conclusion that this may be the first alternative vehicle I've driven that is entirely without compromise. Unlike a Volt or a Prius, you're not hauling around two propulsion systems. It's just electric. But unlike something like the Leaf, this has real-world space, real-world dynamics. This can actually go a good distance. It could be your only car.
I had an opportunity to attend TESLive, which is Tesla Motor Club's annual get-together. This is where owners of Teslas, as well as aspiring buyers, come to get together and talk about their cars. Here's the kind of people that buy this car. They are interested in saving fuel, yes. But in general, the people buying the Tesla are early adopters. People used to paying and willing to pay top dollar for early technology, for being the first to get it and incorporating it into their lives. The owner of this car paid $119,000 for this car, which makes it absolutely an exotic. This is an expensive car. But consider this. He also owns an 04 Ford Expedition, a gas guzzler. He's got 140,000 miles on it, on this car that he purchased for right around 50 grand. He actually did the math and calculated over the years he has paid about $50,000 just in fuel. There's your Tesla right there.
This may be the best family vehicle made. Better than an SUV, better than a CUV, better than a minivan. It has such incredible use of space, incredible power that's going to make dad or mom just laugh when they're driving. It's not that great in the canyons, but how many families are, as a unit, going canyon carving? That's just not really happening.
Yes, it's like driving a piece of software, and the interior is 100% all about this giant screen. That's okay. I kind of wish everything in my life worked as well as the Tesla, like my smartphone. I'm coming away thinking, why aren't all cars this good?
This feels like a completely new take on making a great car. It is a great car. It's not agile enough for me. I want something with a little more driver involvement and a little bit better interior. The biggest difficulty, of course, is just range. You aren't going to be able to drive on a bunch of back roads. You're going to pretty much stay on major intersections, freeways, and large cities. But that's how most families travel anyway.